The only thing worse than COD itself is spending another £60 a year on COD, but I can't escape it. Every time I uninstall it, I always end up coming back, and it's been this way for the past 10 years. So, with another release on the horizon, I've decided to attempt to find an alternative, so I can finally leave my heroin-like reliance on this game in the past. Yeah, right. Like many of you, COD has been a part of my life for a long time. Constantly in the cycle of hyping myself up for the next release, only to find out it's as broken as the last 3 iterations. I'm a bit slow, but even I realise there isn't a one-to-one replacement for COD. So this task isn't as simple as play X and all your problems will be solved. But I'll try my best to find something that scratches the itch for me. So I've made a list of the things that are most important to me when looking for an arena shooter, but I may or may not skip a few things depending on the game, obviously. First of all, you must be able to play the game casually without feeling like you're on MLG main stage. I feel like this is a problem with COD, the modern titles, and I'd rather find a game that doesn't force you to do that. Movement must be fluid and fast. One or the other, preferably both. I just feel like modern titles kind of need that now, rather than this sort of clunky, stuck in the mud feeling that a lot of titles do have. Gameplay must be fast-paced, with regular engagements, rather than feeling like I have to make an appointment to get in gunfights. 3-lane maps are preferred, although not required, providing the flow of the map is fine. Like on games with bigger maps, I feel like 3 lanes much harder. So this is one of the things where I'm willing to sort of give it a pass. And honestly, the ability to do cool shit would be pretty good. Sniping is something I've always enjoyed doing on COD, so something like that. Something where you can sort of separate yourself from the normal player base. For God's sake, an actual skill gap, please. There's nothing quite like ruining a game at Dad's evening because I personally have no life. Okay, with that out of the way, the first game I'll be trying is, drumroll please, Battlefield 2042. Yes, I know, from one game that doesn't care about its audience to another. Let's see if we can try and fulfill my dependency at the first time of asking. I'm going to try my best to be unbiased and make an effort to play with some aggression as I do on COD. The game runs similarly to COD on my system, which is a good thing I guess, but that's not saying much as I don't get enough FPS to utilize my monitor on either game. I feel like Battlefield as a series has always been quite casual friendly. We will see if this is an issue for good players as we improve at the game. Now, initially I found myself playing 800% damage servers, so think of that what you will. While playing casually, and honestly, I found it really fun without being overly competitive. There's almost always a server with low ping available, although looking at the server list, it does highlight that there aren't many people playing the game, which is concerning long term. I'm aware that the game's been out for a while, but this is still something that I feel like I should point out. The lack of any sort of competitive community is telling also. The game is lacking the player base to really develop any worthwhile competitive scene, which is a shame because I do feel like this could offer something different to the current esports landscape. Gunplay is fun, and sniping is enjoyable too, albeit a little bit clunky. I've never expected it to be as smooth as the sniping on COD, but it's certainly passable. I don't feel like many games really nail sniping as well as COD has in many of its titles. And sniping is good on Battlefield, it is fun. However, it isn't as viable to compete with automatic weapons in this game. But I kind of expected that given that Battlefield has never really been actively encouraging the aggressive sniping playstyle. There's a large choice of weapons available, and I do feel like most are viable options, if not a bit samey. I do see people using all sorts of weapons, which is good to see, and a pleasant change from people exclusively using and abusing the meta on COD. Movement's a bit iffy, limiting you to specific specialists that encourage movement, leaving the rest of them feeling a bit sort of slow and sluggish, encouraging you to play a bit more reserved. I guess this will be a positive for some people, but I found it quite restricting at times. I found myself missing out on opportunities to engage with enemies, as by the time I'd taken the stairs to where the gunfights on rooftops were happening, and MWIII had sort of grappled up and taken all the fun. Maybe this was my own failing, but it wasn't something that left a great taste in my mouth. Using MWIII, however, was a lot of fun. Using the grapple hook to get around was very useful and often offered opportunities to add style to your gameplay. This is definitely a pro for me. With the size of the map, 3-lane wasn't really viable, so I guess I can't really mark it down for that. I did find it became a bit of a run-in simulator at times, but I do feel that is my lack of map knowledge, and I can't really imagine it helped that my squad would sometimes wander off to the arse end of nowhere to set up a campsite. forcing me to either spawn with them or with the main spawn point, which was often miles away from any engagements. The pacing of the game at times was really good, where I would find myself having to deal with enemies from every direction almost immediately after spawning, forcing me to have to use the environment and my movement tech to keep myself alive. This is what I was hoping for when I had initially decided to play this game. It did feel like there was a pretty huge skill gap between players, with some people genuinely making me question whether or not they were bots. This, although funny, feels like it would get old pretty fast. It felt like I was just mowing through them at times, as you see in some of the clips in the background. Maybe the skill gap feels like it's there because there aren't as many demons playing this game as there are with COD, but generally there was 1 or 2 people doing much better than the rest of the lobby in most games, and that is slightly concerning when, say what you will about skill-based matchmaking, the lobbies are usually pretty even on COD, although that in itself has cons also. Like I previously spoke about not wanting to feel like I was playing on MLG main stage in every single game I played. Overall, I do really enjoy this game, and I have gone back to play this game after recording the clips for this video. But is it a COD replacement? No, I don't think it is. Frankly, I just don't have faith that it will ever have the player base or community that COD has. That could be seen as a good thing, as the community on COD is pretty toxic at times. Well, most of the time. But all it's going to take for me to go back to COD is a clip on Twitter or YouTube of someone doing some crazy shit, and my ass will be running back to Daddy Call of Duty just to be back at square one. So, in conclusion, although the game is in a lot better place than it was when it released, it just doesn't quite make me want to keep going back to it like COD does. Although saying that, I will definitely continue to play the game occasionally, but it's certainly no COD killer. So, the search continues. Bye bye, see you next time.